Quixa presenta...
Un razzo interplanetario?
No, non esageriamo.
Una polizza assicurativa?
Banale, non solo.
Un'offerta esclusiva?
Quasi, ma non proprio.
Un nuovo prodotto smart e innovativo?
Risposta esatta. È Quixa Smart, una linea di soluzioni innovative di Quixa, la compagnia 100% digitale di AXA Italia. Perché ci sono situazioni in cui non hai bisogno solo di una polizza, ma di servizi semplici e concreti per vivere con più tranquillità. Prodotti smart con un'offerta smart. Un mese gratis e disdici quando vuoi. Ma capiamo meglio di cosa si tratta. Tra le soluzioni proposte da Quixa Smart c'è salute. Hai un medico o un pediatra a tua disposizione anche in videochiamata o direttamente a casa tua. E quando non puoi uscire, pensiamo noi a mandare la ricetta in farmacia e a portarti le medicine a casa. Inoltre, puoi richiedere l'assistenza di un'infermiera, di una collaboratrice domestica, di un babysitter, di un dog sitter, di un fisioterapista e di un autista. Tra le soluzioni Quixa Smart c'è anche sicurezza digitale, per stare tranquillo quando navighi su internet e quando fai degli acquisti online, ma anche una difesa concreta contro il cyberbullismo per tutti i membri della tua famiglia. E poi c'è anche Quixa Smart Casa, per vivere con tranquillità gli imprevisti legati alla casa. Hai bisogno ad esempio di un idraulico, di un elettricista o di un altro artigiano? Con Quixa Smart Casa hai un esperto a casa tua, disponibile 24 ore su 24 tutti i giorni dell'anno. Quixa Smart, l'innovazione digitale in tasca. Un mese gratis e disdici quando vuoi.
Scusa, a quando il razzo interplanetario?
Hello then everybody, welcome along to round number 5 of the Esports Series.net GT3 League on Assetto Corsa Competizione. My name's Aidan Bro, I've got alongside me once again Matteo Lorenzetti.
Hello man, good evening everybody.
And we do actually have a third man in the commentary box with us tonight as well, by the name of Roberto.
Yeah, take your time. No trouble.
No, go on, you can pronounce your surname.
Oh.
I was awaiting that.
Pignataro, by the way. But it's no problem. No problem. Good evening, everybody.
So there we go.
Italian names.
There's my Italian lesson out of the way. But nevertheless, we are here for round 5, as we said. The final round of the championship, which will be decided tonight for the teams and the drivers' championship. And obviously there is prizes at stake for the top 3 finishers. And we have had a little bit of a shuffle round in the championship standings and things like that, so we will get to that shortly as well. We'll bring you all the updates from the last round from Kyalami. But we were expecting rain last time out, but we have definitely got rain this time at Suzuka. So, in for an interesting race, nevertheless. So, just waiting for the timer to count down whilst the drivers just load up their setups ready for qualifying. We're going to have a 20-minute qualifying.
Okay, so Aiden, do you think we can go for a quick round on the classification?
Yes,
Actual
100%.
classification, because at the end of Kyalami race we were thinking that Andrea Capoccia of the GT3 Carman and Luca Losio of the Journalism Sport Academy would have been tied for the last race with the same amount of points. But this is not the case, because actually we got Andrea Capoccia heading the standings with 173 points, and Luca Losio just 4 points behind him at 169 points. This happened because Luca Losio got a penalty for what happened at the start of Kyalami race, and basically got lucky because the damage he has caused to one of the opponents made the opponents losing just 2 positions, and that's why Losio has been awarded with a 2-position penalty that made him lost 4 points. So actually tonight's race will be Capoccia in front and Losio in the nothing to lose position. So quite an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely, with Luca Losio getting that penalty. Obviously, like you said, dropping him down to P2. I think that's the only time the championship lead has actually changed, is it not, this season? Because he has led the way for, I think, all of it until that round last time out. So, yes. Very interesting. But his team does still lead the team's classification, because John Alesi Esports Academy do have 265 points, followed by the GTWR Carman team, which I believe they are on 259, so not far adrift at all. Only 6 points in it once again, with 1 victory apiece for those guys. P3 is the N20 team, followed by Racing Line Motorsport, and then Fast and Aged in P5.
Yeah, so it will be quite close for both the standings, team standings and driver standings. It will be an exciting race to watch. Also because we will have to keep at hand our calculator, because clearly if the situation will change quickly after pit stops or after duels, we will must understand what's going on at the standings level. Interesting also to consider the fact that in the driver standings, Roberto Carturan of the N20, it's not far from the top. Something goes wrong for Capoccia or Losio, and I mean badly wrong, Carturan could bounce back and maybe snatch a seemingly impossible win, because it's 140 points, so it's just 33 points a day for Capoccia, and with the point system everything take. But also we cannot write off completely Montalbano, although it's quite unlikely because he has 120 points. It's not completely cut off from the championship, but considering the fact that for the winner there are 50 points at stake for Montalbano, it will be quite difficult. Also Janfrest, the Met can't exclude him from the title, 124 points. Angelo Trifiglio at 116 points, but I think, if I'm not wrong, that Trifiglio maybe tonight will not race because he had connection problems. Quite a shame because Trifiglio has been a staple past races of the show. So let's hope for a Trifiglio back also this race. Then Gianni Monaco in 7th position with 102 points, Nicolò Bilancini with 100 points in 8th position, Francesco Dondi in 9th position with 98 points, and then Luca Colombo with 96 points, and then all the other drivers. Let's not forget also Puzzarini, that it's one of the best drivers of the competition, that has had bad races. First one, that then if I'm not wrong, the Silverstone race when he missed literally he missed the grid slot. It's 12th, but too far for every championship ambition. Actually, the equation of the drivers that inside.
Yeah, so still some battles to be settled then tonight from pretty much the majority of drivers, obviously wanting to end the season on a high, and with the wet conditions, as you said, anything can happen, especially in terms of them top point-to-point positions with the prizes at stake. Just to go over quickly those prizes, we do have a racing wheel up for grabs, a keyboard, and a Android phone gaming controller as well.
Yeah.
So
from Trustmaster, from Razer, and
Corsair.
from Corsair. Yes.
Yeah, so some nice prizes to be had, but we'll focus on the action because we have actually had 5 minutes of qualifying already, and it looked like there was a Porsche off there just after the famous 130R corner, and he's now back on the road coming into the final chicane, so not sure who that was. But looks like we've not got as many drivers tonight, quite as many as normal. We've got 20 cars out on track. If you exclude the safety car, that'll be 19. So maybe waiting on a few others to still join the session possibly, but Luca Lozio at the moment on provisional pole by some margin as well, by 1.7 seconds to Tozzato in the Mercedes. But everyone else looking reasonably close, but I'm thinking that most drivers will be still sort of finding their feet, and this session will, chances are it will get faster as a dry line appears, or should I say a less wet line, so to speak. But you never know, it could dry out, it could get wetter, so drivers have got to get their times in sooner rather than later, really, because if it does get wetter, obviously they're going to struggle to improve later in the session. So I would be out there on low fuel and fresh rubber as soon as possible, and any mistake, I'd be going back straight away and trying to just get even any form of banker in, to be honest, and then get back in pit lane and get another fresh set of boots on to get the best grip from those wet tyres.
Yeah, it's very hard condition to master because you don't know if it's gonna get drier, it's gonna get wetter. So you have to get on a decent time, or at least fastest time you can possibly make as soon as possible, because you'll never know.
Not sure what we're actually expecting in terms of the forecast for the race. Obviously, it is going to be a wet race, but chances are it could dry in that one as well, potentially. So we never know quite what's going to be thrown at us with the ACC weather model, because it can throw a spanner in the works at any given moment. So drivers are going to have to be really on it with the strategy and their calls when to come in, when to get fresh tyres on, because if it is a full wet race, I'm still thinking that at least it'll be minimum one pit stop of tyres, maybe even two, depending on how fast the tyres wear and how wet the track obviously is as well. It's very dependent on that. So at the moment, though, Luca Lozio with a brilliant time by the looks of it, because no one's been able to get near him just yet. So a few shuffles around on the leaderboard. Championship leader Kapoch is down in 9th place, 2.8 seconds off the pole man at the moment. So he's going to be looking to try and get himself further forward as Rosmarino now crosses the line in the Nissan, just behind the Ferrari in shot here, and he goes up to P5 in the Nissan. So decent time from Rosmarino in the conditions, and he's actually just nearly lost it there, and he's on the grass. He has actually now, he's going to decide to abort that now. So 11 minutes and 40 to go. Who do you think your money's on tonight in these wet conditions? Because I'm less in tune with what these guys can do in wet conditions. We've only seen a sprinkling of rain at the end of the Silverstone race, so you guys obviously know these guys. You've raced against them before. Just as the Ferrari there gets very loose coming through the S's. But who is a rain master, so to speak, a bit like the old Ayrton Senna?
To be honest, I don't know, because for me, basically, it's the first time I see those drivers. Oh, the Ferrari on the back of another Ferrari. Bad moment for Capoccia arriving to the herb. And I don't know, to be honest, because I never raced against them in the wet. I never saw them racing in the wet, so it will be a surprise to discover not only how those drivers are fast in the wet, but also how they are, if they are consistent or not. That I'm thinking that being consistent under the wet is likely more important than being outright fast. What do you think, Roberto?
Yeah, on wet conditions, it will be very important to keep consistent and to never make mistakes. It is also critical to keep your tires fresh. Try not to burn them, because if the line gets drier, the wet tires are more likely to get to pretty much burn, because this tire is very slippery on dry conditions. That's also a thing to master. But from what I saw in the first race at Silverstone, Luca Lozio is not that, I don't want to say good, but doesn't find itself really comfortable on wet conditions. Because in the last I remember 20 minutes of the race, it started raining and Lozio started getting way slower. So I don't know if that's a problem he fixed. I don't know if it was a setup thing, it was a tire thing. I don't know if there are too many variables involved. But I don't want to put my money on Luca Lozio. Even though he made a really good lap at the moment with the 2:08.7. I don't know if it will improve if the track will get wetter or drier. So I don't really know.
I'm thinking that maybe we have also some newcomer, because I didn't remember before Onorati in 7th position. Am I wrong, Aiden?
Yes, I've definitely never seen that surname before. I believe he must be a new driver. Trying to spot if there's anyone else who we're not used to seeing, but I don't think so. No sign of last time out race winner.
Oh God, yes, you're right.
Was it Amir Hosseini that won?
No, it was Capoccia who won.
Oh, Capoccia won. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it was
Hosseini. It was Hosseini that gave a lot of a show.
Yeah.
Shame it's not here tonight. I spoke with him after the race. He was absolutely excited about the race he had with us. That like to come back. We would like back to for competition sooner or later. But in my opinion, except for that he had some accidents, not bad accidents, but they put him in some bad situation. He drove masterfully, thinking about of some of his overs. If you remember that big dummy that he threw, maybe it was Carturan, I think. With my opinion, one of the best overtakes that we saw, not only in this championship but the whole year. Absolutely, a nice driver, very fast. Maybe, in my opinion, a bit too aggressive, but one of the best for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely up there with some of the best on this new game. And obviously, I don't know whether you guys saw anything about the announcement the other day, but we're going to have a set of course of competency only coming to consoles as well. Yep. So that's going to open up a whole new avenue for drivers to new drivers to get their hands on the game and basically have a go for themselves.
Yeah, and, there will be also DLC.
Yeah,
with the GT4 cars.
GT4 cars, yeah.
And
which
new
is
tracks.
One of the things I said from day one. I basically said, if it's the official Blank Pan game, which is now the official GT World Challenge, as they're calling it, game, the support series is the GT4 series, so GT4 European series, I believe it is. So that is purely GT4 cars, and it's a feeder series to the Blank Pan / GT World Series, World Challenge. So I did say initially that a brilliant way for them to go would be GT4 as well, and then that opens up another avenue, i.e. British GT, which will be coming in DLC as well. So they'll be bringing, I believe it'll be Snetterton. They'll bring my home circuit, Alton Park, which is one of my favourite track, well, best track in the world for me, because of the up and down nature of the track, and then also Donington, because you've already got Spa, you've already got Silverstone, and you've already got Brands Hatch where they also go. And that championship uses both GT3 and GT4, so it's the perfect time for them to add multi-class into the game as well. Not just single make GT3 or GT4. They'll be able to hopefully do multi-class racing as well. And with the amount of drivers we can host on this game, it should be phenomenal to go racing at, say, here Suzuka. You could do 10-hour events, you can do 24-hour events, you can do, absolutely everything, and it will it'll lead to some brilliant championships, I think.
Yep, absolutely. And right, it's the final chapter of a nice championship. Glad to see that the drivers that are coming to the last race hasn't dwindled not too much, how actually happens in many championships. Sadly for Angelo, he had connection issues, so otherwise we will have 20 drivers, so we can expect something good for tonight, except for the fact that Capoccia seems in trouble, because it's not a nice way to start the final race of the championship, leading the standings and being just 8th on the grid. We are 3 minutes 50 seconds shy of the end of the qualification, and could be quite an issue for Capoccia.
Yeah, definitely. With him down in 8th place and his closest rival being on pole position at the moment, obviously it's not ideal, but the race is a long one, and with the weather conditions the way they are, it could go any way which it wants to. And as we were saying about the new driver, I believe, how do you say his name? Onorati, is it?
Onorati, yes.
Honorati, he's
your
up
Italian,
in...
your Italian is improving, yeah. Go ahead,
he is up in... he was up in P2. He's now P3 because Porter has actually just pipped him with pretty much bang on now 3 minutes to go, with Luca Lozio now coming through the S's in his Porsche. So it's a Porsche followed by 2 Aston Martins, and then actually a Mercedes going well in the wet as well. And then Bill Ancini in the 5th place, the 3rd place of the Astons, and then followed by Rosmarino in the Nissan, who went well earlier on, who's just about been now bumped out the top 5. And then the Ferraris of Johnny Monaco and Capoccia, as we were saying, down there. And Carturan again, someone who is in the championship on not a brilliant qualifying for him as well. Although who's just moved up. It was Johnny Monaco, just moved up to P6. That's now bumped Capoccia. Yeah, no, Capoccia does stay P8, sorry. And Carter around P9. But the next best Porsche, other than Luca Lozio, is actually Puzzarini down in 11th. And Rotundo in 14th as well. So no sign of Montalbano, unfortunately, in the other Porsche tonight, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, Montalbano had an awful race in Kyalami, and I think that has been a bad final straw for his morale, because he was in contention until Kyalami, but after that retirement, I think that it was the last straw for him, and he decided to drop it. And because it's an excellent driver.
He is indeed, yeah. He's been getting really well in the championship, but other than, like you say, Kyle Army last time out, which was sort of an unfortunate race for him because he was in contention for a fair while and then dropped down the standings. But nevertheless, I'm sure we will see him back in another championship again soon with the Sports Series. I'm pretty certain he will be back. Semeraro now, just about to cross the line in his Ferrari, see if he can go any quicker. And he doesn't at the moment. I thought he did for a second there, but we did just flick to Tozzato in the Mercedes. So another Jean Alesi Esports Academy driver. Just coming through 130R, taking a lot of curb through 130R there, but somehow not getting unsettled too much in the wet conditions. Through the final chicane now, and then hard on the power. He's actually got it sideways coming out the final corner, and again through the second part of it, and now he's going to cross the line, so that'll be his qualifying done, I think, because he won't be carrying a great deal of speed over the line, so that'll probably be him done for the day. The two guys in the pits at the moment are Bilancini and Johnny Monaco. They are finished and done for qualifying. Still got plenty of guys out on track that are allowed to finish the lap because the checker flag is now falling. So if they are on a lap, they can finish it if they're going to improve. And Amato does improve. I think he's just improved. Yes, he has. He's up to 9th now, and he's just crossed the line now. You can see the little checker flag next to his name, and that means that Cartu Ran will start P10 and Capoccia still P8.
Yeah, but still, Lozio just crossed the line right now. Pole position, and there is Porta and Orati absolutely close because there are only 9 milliseconds between them. That's something. Orati third actually got in the pit, so maybe just Porta and Tozzato could try to reach Lozio, but Lozio seems untouchable today on the wet.
He does indeed. The Porsche bound to be a very good car in the rain with that rear engine, with the weight over the rear wheels, being able to get off the corners. But to be fair, 12th place man here, Puzzarini, unless he can get himself any higher up across the line now. And he doesn't, he stays 12th. So one Porsche in pole position, and the next Porsche on the grid is actually down in 12th and 14th. So not a great showing for the Porsches, which we have seen for the most part at the front of this championship. Throughout most of the sessions, there's been Porsches littered among the top 10 and mainly the top 5 positions, to be honest. But there is your final classification for qualifying. It is Luca Lozio that takes the pole position, and you can see just there his fastest sector times looking mighty through sector 1 and 2. And only just off in Sector 3 as well, only just pipped to a purple sector in Sector 3 by the Mercedes of Tozzato by not even half a tenth of a second, actually, so nearly fastest in all 3 sectors, but that doesn't matter to him one bit because he's 1.3 seconds ahead of the V8 Vantage of Porter, followed by the new driver, Onorati, who's only just about 100th, I think it is. Yeah, 100th of a second away from P2, so a great first showing for him. in the other Aston Martin. And then it's Tozzato in the Mercedes, Bilancini in the Aston Martin, Monaco in the Ferrari, Rosmarino in the Nissan, and then 2 other Ferraris of Capoccia and Amato. And then finally Carturan rounding out the top 10.
Quite a job from North Marino driving that tank of a Nissan on a wet track
Big
like
car.
this one.
I mean, the nickname for it is Godzilla. So, I mean, it is known for being a bit of a beast. So, yeah, very good job from him getting himself up into P7.
Kudos to Rosmarino, yes.
How he can get on later on in the race. But we will.
I am actually kind of surprised at seeing a Mercedes in P4 on wet conditions at Suzuka, because
That is what I said as well. Yeah, it's very interesting that.
And the best
normally
third split time also.
Yeah, but third sector is mainly a straight and 130R, so I can see why it got the purple fastest time in third sector. But I'm actually impressed to see a fourth place in Mercedes on the wet, because the Mercedes is known to have a lot of trouble compared to other cars in corners and in especially in fast corners, but it compensates with a great engine, really great engine. So it goes well in circuits like Monza. But that's actually a really good job from Tozzato to get there and get P4 on the wet. So really good job to him.
Okay, so Aiden, I think that we can go in the advertise mode, and then we will come back for the race.
Yeah, so stay with us. If you are tuned in, we'll be back after the adverts for the 5th and final round of the championship. It's a very, very wet Suzuka, so we'll catch you in a moment.
take it, you got me so high. I want to feel your lover, and I just relax and be my lover to never get the other. I said we met tonight because you know what I want, what I want. I said the look in your eyes, I'll tell you what on my kind. I'll tell you what on my kind. So when the dance on tonight, to ride the dance to make me feel right. I wanna hear your breath when the morning shines. When it shines. My heart beats fast, and now I'm take it, you got me so high. I want to feel your lover, and I just relax and be my lover to never get the other. I said we met tonight because you know what I want, what I want. I said the look in your eyes, I'll tell you what on my kind. I'll tell you what on my kind. So when the dance on tonight, to ride the dance to make me feel right. I wanna hear your breath when the morning shines. When it shines. My heart beats fast, and now I'm alright. I can't go on, but I need you tonight. So let's say what's your behavior. Forget your fucking neighbors. Can't wear me tonight because you know what I want, what I want. Say the look in your eyes, I'll say you what on my kind. I'll say you what on my kind. So when the days are tonight, do what you do to make me feel right. I wanna hear your breath when the morning shines. take it, you got me so high. I want to feel your lover tonight. Just relax and be my lover. To never get the other. I said we met tonight because you know what I want, what I want. I saw the look in your eyes. I'll tell you right on my kind.
For the whole championship, we saw an Andrea Capoccia in great shape, perfect tactics, precise and clean driving, in short, a knight on the steering wheel, capable of enduring every time when the opponent offers the side, but not infallible, even endured by opponents fierce and often aggressive. We must talk also about mistakes, but when magic is produced, we must be exalted. Making a mistake is no longer allowed, especially today when you need another magic to build a masterpiece, necessary to make sense of a championship that has all the elements to be attributed to Andrea, but you must be careful of Luca Losio, who is very close. Andrea against Luca, Luca against Andrea. Who will be the winner of the first ACC GT3 edition powered by sportseries.net? Stay tuned and you'll find out in 2.5 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome on esportseries.net and Simpit virtually in Japan to live the last race of the ACC GT3 2020 Championships by esportseries.net. Welcome to Suzuka, the land of the samurai, guided by the Bushido Code, which teaches us that a samurai warrior is not blind and furious, but smart, agile, determinated. Our heroes tonight might be like a samurai, and whoever succeeded will go home with all the glory. Spot and go, eyes to eyes, heart out of the chest, and foot ready, because when the lights goes out, as in duels of the samurai, you have to hit first.
So welcome back then everybody. We are back for the race after that short break, and we're just at the end of a free practice session just for the drivers to make sure all the settings are correct for them, wheel and setup wise, obviously this is a dry session. We are expecting rain for the race, so obviously any knowledge, so to speak, gained in this session won't be worth much if it is chucking it down with rain and very, very wet indeed. But we're just going to wait for Porter, who's going to now pull over. There we go. So we're now into the race session. So the drivers have got 2 minutes to just select a setup and make sure their fuel's right, tyres are right, and things like that. And we are actually starting in dry conditions, which is very interesting. So it will be going to rain. When that will happen, we are none the wiser than the audience. So we will see when the rain eventually does come, which we are definitely expecting it this time. Whereas at Kyalami, it never turned up.
Kyalami.
Yeah, exactly that. It never actually made it to us at Kyalami. It got a lot darker, but not a lot wetter. But I would imagine the Japanese weather is going to throw some rain at us. But we've got Luca Lozio starting from the pole position, followed by Porter and new driver Onorati, both in Aston Martins. And then it's going to be Tozzato, Bilancini, Johnny Monaco, Rosmarino, Capoccia, and Amato lining up in the top 10. Followed by Corturan, Semeraro, Puzzarini, Dondi, and then Lucoli, Rotundo, Luccioli, even. Pronunciation error once again. Rotundo is 16th.
But what you complain? There's not Chiesa anymore, so.
No Chiesa, no. Gagliardini in 17th. Jamfrest in 18th. Paul showing from Jamfrest, actually. He's normally a lot higher up the grid than that. He's normally in the top 10, so he's going to be looking to go forward if he can from there. And then it's going to be Vladi Colombo and
Luca Colombo.
Luca Colombo.
Yep.
So 2 Colombos lining up at the rear of the grid. We should be starting our formation lap any time now, and the safety car does lead us away. The McLaren number 1 safety car. So who's your money on now then? Now the weather's changed to this sunny, dry conditions, blue sky everywhere at the moment, but we're expecting some rain later on.
Someone touched Semeraro gave a nudge to I think it was Cartran. Cartran slowed down too much during the starting procedure, and Semeraro literally gave him a nudge, but I think more of just a simple nudge on the back of the car. Just starting in the formation lap, so I don't care. Carturan has been impressed with that. But Carturan was a bit too slow, to be honest. So maybe Semeraro has been caught out of surprise.
Yeah, obviously everyone's trying to get some tyre temperature and brake temperature as well. And maybe just, like you say, was a bit slow, caught Semeraro off guard. I don't think anything would have been intentional by any means, and hopefully neither of them have got damage from that. I wouldn't think they have. But they're just coming through 2 of the most difficult corners in motorsport, actually. I would put them up there as that anyway. The 2... what's the name of them again? The Lesmos are the ones at Monza. These ones are called the Degners. I always have to think about the ones at Monza are Lesmos, the ones at Suzuka are Degners. So Degner 1 and 2 for me are 2 of the most difficult corners on the track and just in general motorsport. 2 very fast right-handers. The second one being a little bit slower, but there's plenty of camber to help you around the corner, but for some reason it seems to draw you in really fast, the second part, and then spits you out on the exit and you end up all over the gravel near enough, and you've got to be very careful with that, obviously in race conditions especially, because it can quite easily catch you out. But we should be going racing soon, because we're just going through Spoon Corner at the moment. I'm guessing the safety car will peel off, probably take off just after 130R, which is the fast left-hander, very famous circuit here at Suzuka. Very famous corner.
The
should I say.
130R, I think.
Yeah, 130R, yeah. So that is down this next straight here into the fast left-hander and then into the chicane. So I think the safety car has now bolted into the pit lane. He will come in at the end of the lap and we will go racing for 1 hour and 45 minutes for the final race of the season. So keep an eye on that Porsche at the front, because Luca Lozio has control of the pack and he can gun it whenever he chooses to. Single file start here, so has to avoid any carnage down into turn 1, and Lozio still hasn't gone quite yet. He's still biding his time. Everyone else filtering through.
I spilled also on Capoccia because I think it's playing a lot of his chances to championship battle alive by how good or how bad they will start.
Yeah, and there we go. We are now racing. And Luca Lozio easily leads away, but there's plenty of 2x2 action further back in the field. Looks like Porter's clearly in P2. The Mercedes of Tozzato's trying to get past Onorati now. There you go. And also Bilancini trying to defend from Johnny Monaco, I believe that is. Not too far back is Rosmarino in the Nissan. As you can see there, Rosmarino, it looks like he's actually made it through now on Monaco, I think so anyway. Looks to be ahead in the Nissan.
There they go.
Is now under threat now from... Who was that? It's all shuffling around. 2 seconds with that. So yeah, Johnny Monaco up into 6th place, Capoccia up into 7th. So the white car is Capoccia. So keep an eye on him.
On the double camera there is a crash in the back of the
Oh yes, there is. Massive crash.
Massive one, yes.
4 cars involved.
Yeah, but luckily for Capoccia he's safe, so I think they are Colombo, Gianfres, Gagliardini, the Rotundo. There is the group that has had problems in the thing that is the Degner.
Yeah, it looked like the middle of the 2 Degner corners where the issue was. Tozzato hasn't been able to get through on Onorati yet. He is still awfully close in the Mercedes. You can see him drafting up behind. Here's a replay of that incident.
Replay, yep.
I'll let you talk through, Matteo.
Yeah, there is a bunch of Ferrari. Basically, someone has literally T-bone and then mayhem. Other cars bouncing amongst them. There is 5-6 cars involved because everything started with some car getting in back of another car in likely bad mistake on the braking point. But in the meantime we got Rosmarino on Tozzato for the 4th place. Rosmarino catches Tozzato and puts out both of them out of
No, that's Capoccia. That's Capoccia.
No, it's
Capoccia,
not.
the white Mercedes is Capoccia, isn't it?
No, it was not Rosmarino on Tozzato, I think.
No,
It
Capoccia.
wasn't the Nissan.
No, it was not Tozzato.
No, Tozzato is the Mercedes. It was Capoccia going up the inside of Rosmarino into turn 1, and Rosmarino's turned into the corner, and Capoccia went spinning off and didn't have a full spin, but he's lost plenty of ground, and he's actually down behind now. I think he's where's he fallen back to? Behind one of the Aston Martins. I think he's behind Carturan, is he?
We have to
possibly
wait for the tower to
realign.
Yes.
Tower has updated. Capoccia is behind Dondi.
He's behind Dondi. Yeah.
Here we got the replay on the second camera. Reply on the second camera. Capoccia was following. Capoccia, I think it was following. Oh, there is
another live incident, and it's Bilancini going around in the Aston Martin, and there's more carnage. Absolute mayhem in the first 5 minutes of this race. Bilancini getting turned around at the hairpin, and you've just seen there in the second camera.
It was Capoccia or Rosmarino. Capoccia.
Yeah, Capoccia and Rosmarino. So he's now down. Capoccia down in 13th place. And, as we said, following Dondi in the other Ferrari. Where did Rosmarino rejoin?
It's 15. But
15.
I think that the Capoccia move has been quite optimistic. It was too late. Try that kind of overtake on Rosmarino in that point.
It's a very fast corner as well, turn 1. So
Yeah.
the first part of turn 1 into turn 2 is probably your best bet, because you actually have to brake more into turn 2 than probably what you do have to for turn 1. It's a very fast corner, you're not really braking, so it's not really the place unless you're completely alongside. Here's the incident from Bilancini.
This is
There
the
we
other
go,
one.
yeah.
Yep.
So he went up the inside of the other Aston Martin. I'm not sure who that was, actually. The white Aston Martin, we'd have to have a look to see who that was. But he goes up the inside, rightfully so, because he had a run on the car ahead, and he gets the job done. And then on the exit, he gets tagged in the rear and turned around in front of many, many other cars oncoming, gets a bit collected from the red Ferrari, and everyone else somehow managing to avoid the incident. But Bilancini's probably got a little bit of damage from that, but still in the race, that's the main thing. He is still running, although down in 13th place at the moment. It looked like, yeah, Colombo would have been the red Ferrari that was the driver that collected him. So he's in P10 with probably a bit of front end damage as well, but still top 10 at the moment for him.
Maybe a bit too of a hurry for Capoccia. Not the right maneuver, likely not at the right moment. And all of a sudden now his championship chances looks like they are almost totally compromised.
Yeah, dwindling for him at the moment, but still 1 hour and 40 minutes, only 5 minutes gone, and so much happened already. Anything can happen, but it would take something catastrophic to happen to Luca Lozio from this position, because at the moment there's only a few laps gone and he's already got a 2.5 second lead, 3 second lead now as it updates on our timing screens. And that's from Porter in the Aston Martin. Meanwhile, this battle here is Gagliardini, Jean-Frest, who's made it up from 18th position on the grid all the way up to 8th place. He's kept his nose clean and found himself up in P8, so up 10 places for Jean-Frest. Brilliant bit of driving from him. And we are on board in the second camera with Dondi, I believe it is, in the yellow and green Ferrari, and just behind him Vladi Colombo, who was obviously caught up a bit in that accident earlier on with, I believe it was Bilancini, wasn't it? Yes, who he ended up having contact with. But these guys are all looking for a strong result, and actually there, Gagliardini went a little bit wide through turn 1 and 2, which has put Jean-Frest right on the back of him now, and Dondi also very, very close, and a big battle pack behind as well, with Rotundo, Rosmarino and Capoccia, and also Bilancini. So another 4-car train just in the back of your shot there as well. So keep an eye on those guys if you can. Through certain camera angles, we should be able to pick up on what's going on there as well.
Oh, in the rear mirror of Dondi, I saw Colombo trying for a lunge down the inside, but he didn't find the space, so he nearly clipped back of Dondi, and it was such a near miss. I really got scared. Oh, watch out for Dondi in the inside.
Bit naughty there from Dondi.
Yeah. Quite naughty, yes.
That was not a smart move by.
So after all that
Dondi.
hard work from Jean-Frest, he's now going to go tumbling back down the order, and I fear that's going to be a penalty coming Dondi's way for that one. However, I felt like if we ever get a replay of it, I think he hit the curb on the flat-out right-hander just before the braking point, and as that unsettled the car, he was then trying desperately to get the car stopped, but ended up tagging Jean-Frest, and that's made him tumble all the way down now back to 14th place, 15th place now. So what a shame for Jean-Frest after having a stellar opening 4 or 5 laps up to 8th. He's now back down at 15th.
Everybody seems quite nervous tonight, or I'm wrong.
Yeah, you can get frustrated sometimes and make these kind of mistakes, but the thing is you don't have to, because then you are most likely to make a mistake and ruin other drivers' races, so you get a penalty for that. And that's what Dondi did, and got really nervous, and I don't know. I didn't see car unsettled on the curb, but I just saw a late lunge down the inside. So I think that's actually a penalty. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it was more driver error than anything. Obviously, like I say, if he did hit the curb, that's his bad for hitting the curb in the first place. It isn't necessarily anyone else's problem, but it's his job to get the car stopped in time to make sure there's no contact made. But there's an absolute titanic battle going on behind this battle here as well, and he goes up the inside again, and he's tagged another guy around. Gagliardini's gone round, and he's now. Oh, and he's had to spin the car back round in front of all that traffic, and he's managed to get the car somehow span around without hitting anybody at the hairpin. Absolutely brilliant bit of manoeuvring from Gagliardini there, but another mistake from Dondi, who's actually just 2 in 2 laps from Dondi.
Yeah.
Unspeakable driving, to be honest with you. I'm a bit shocked to say it, but he's absolutely taken 2 guys out of the race, well, out of contention of a good position at that present moment. And I mean, what do you guys think of that?
Quite unexpected from Dondi. That has been quite a fair and a consistent driver through the World Championship. Oh, someone. Get back off!
Rosmarino's in the wall. Massive crash for Rosmarino, and Bilancini involved as well. Absolutely carnage. There's Rosmarino out of the race. Retiring into the pit lane.
What's happening tonight, guys?
I'm not entirely sure, but we're only just past the 10-minute mark. 11 minutes in.
Maybe people is thinking it's trailed by someone with the coronavirus. I don't know, because we are seeing every sort of things tonight.
We've Simon Luck in the chat has just actually said ACC Battle Royale, and I could not agree more. That is exactly what is happening here. I could not tell you what, like you say, with the drivers all, maybe they're just thinking it's the final race, they want to do really well, they want to end the season on a high. But here's the replay coming through 130R. Capoccia has a little loop through 130R, well, into 130R, and there's 3 guys really close. Rosmarino in the black Nissan, Capoccia to the outside, and then what's going to happen here? Oh,
Rosmarino cuts on the grass, and then Capoccia goes on the right and touches Rosmarino. That involves another car and goes to the wall.
I think that was Bilancini involved as well, and then this is Puzzarini trying to get past Capoccia, who didn't manage to do so, but Rotundo in the black Porsche here, just coming through shot now, he's ahead now of Puzzarini, so that's 10th and 11th place. Gianfrest and Gagliardini are quite close together as well. After both of them being tagged around by Dondi, they both end up in 12th and 13th place, so they're down the order because of that. And then here we've actually got a battle now for P2 and 3, because this is Porter, Onorati and Tozzato all closing up. Meanwhile, at the front, Luca Lozio has got a gap of 8.4 seconds. So after all of this battling, 8.4 second lead for him. But it's 2 Aston Martins and a Mercedes for the final podium places. So a very interesting battle going on here.
What do you think, Roberto?
About Dondi's incidents, or about
everything, about Capoccia accident with Rosmarino in first place, because I think that that kind of accident can be quite detrimental to his hopes for the championship, because it's clearly a situation that the race direction will look into at the end of the race, and even if Capoccia miraculously it's able to get on a decent position to put Luca Lozio win, not let's say win, the Luca Lozio hopes for the championship in parallel. There will clearly be the decision of the right direction, of the race direction on his final race position.
Well, I actually think that first incident between them both, Rosmarino and Capoccia, is more of a penalty than the second, because the second was basically Rosmarino going long, missing the braking zone and cutting the chicane. So he had to rejoin the track, and Rosmarino had a way better traction. So he tried to go on the outside. Rosmarino didn't see him, and they touched. So that is more of a racing incident. The first one, it was due to a really optimistic punch from Rosmarino and from Capoccia, sorry.
Capoccia.
And Rosmarino was committed to his line, so he had to do his line, and I think he didn't see him. He was
the
not
Mercedes.
side by side.
Sorry
there's
to
a battle.
interrupt you, but Honorato there went to the inside, then to the outside, and then back to the inside and swept right across the front of the Mercedes then, and nearly chopped the driver's nose completely off. I'm surprised there wasn't actually a bit of contact, to be honest, but he does get away with it, as we've got another battle coming into turn 1 now, involving Rotundo, Puzzarini, Gianfrest and Monaco all there, and not too far off the back now is Gagliardini as well. So after their earlier incidents with Dondi, they're still in the fight, they're still in the pack with the majority of the midfield, so very close all together still.
If possible, would like to ask to the race, to our race director and to our streaming director, if he can go back to the Capoccia and Rosmarino accident, because it could be to understand the last part of the race, if something's happened, if Losio has issues, because I think it works looking again in the accident to understand if there is some faults to be attributed to Capoccia. So let's wait for our streaming director if he will be able to get back to the that particular moment. Yes, because in my opinion it's key to understand if Capoccia still has hopes for the championship or not.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't actually know.
With him now up into 7th place after a couple of incidents, I feel like he might be under the scrutiny of the stewards, but we've just seen there Puzzarini have some brilliant traction around the outside on the exit of Spoon Corner, and Gianfrest also following him through a 130R now, so that's Rotundo losing 2 places in 2 corners. Puzzarini now stretching his legs already into the chicane, so Gianfrest taking his opportunity as well. It looked like Rotundo probably got a really poor exit out of Spoon Corner and just had no drive down the straight, so literally Puzzarini and Gianfrest drove past him on the straight, so I think he may have a bit of damage as well on the front of that Porsche. We'll wait and see. I think he does, yeah, so it could be a bit of straight line speed that he's struggling with. Tozzato, meanwhile, still pinned to the back of the Aston Martin of Onorati, but Porter has now pulled away from this battle up to 2 seconds, so he's got a bit of breathing space, but Luca Losio at the moment flying away. So
isn't me, guys, or it's getting darker?
It is getting very dark, yeah.
It is.
It says it's 12:19 PM in game, so it's definitely not nighttime rolling in. It could well be weather, as we were expecting some rain, but it is getting very dark, so keep your eyes to the sky if you can, because I think things are about to get even spicier if they even had chance to, because it was already quite heated and now it's simmered down a little bit again, and then I'm sure it will kick back off when the pit stops roll around for wet weather.
Oh, Matteo left the commentary box. I don't know why. Oh, there he is. Hi.
I've gone back to the streaming director asking for the replay, so they are about to launch it in the second camera. But we are keeping also an eye on the weather, because it seems that the rain could be coming maybe next minutes.
Yeah, by the looks of things, it's changed quite drastically. So I would think it's probably going to be 10, 20 minutes before we see any kind of major change, and then drivers are going to start hopefully considering some wet. As you can see now, the second camera is now up, and you can see how brighter it is in that camera from only 10 or 15 minutes ago. So you can see there's Rosmarino losing the car, and then he rejoins, and then Capoccia's going to appear on the right. Big touch from him, and then a touch from Bilancini on the other side. Completely nothing to do with Bilancini there. Just got caught up in the accident. And there's Rosmarino, obviously in the wall heavily as well. So that was his race done.
From the external camera.
Yeah, to be honest, I think I'm actually with you on this one, because I think it's Rosmarino's error. He locks the rears, cuts the corner, rejoins, and Capoccia's already there, still alongside him the whole time. So I feel like it's just one of those unfortunate racing incidents, and then the other car, Bilancini, being collected as well, is just unlucky for him that he's on the outside. He brakes nice and early into the chicane, the black Aston Martin, you can see, and then he takes a nice line through. He's on the outside, and then he just gets bumped into, which is very unlucky from him. It does rejoin, peels straight into the pit lane. So he's actually been in the pits, Bilancini. That's why he's now a lap down. So I feel like that one wasn't on Capoccia. The first one,
no,
100%.
But this was actually the second one. But
yes,
I was referring to the first one at the first corner, the first corner. So we should see it in a few seconds. So.
Yeah, because that one is more on Capoccia, because he really tried. It was a desperate move. So I want to see it again so I can get a better visual on it and get a better idea on it. But I don't think I have that many doubts on it. It's gonna be a penalty.
There it goes.
There it is.
So I mean, he has got the run on him. Capoccia has, and then he flicks to the inside. But because it's not a heavy braking zone, and to be fair, you know, I think Capoccia might have been partly alongside as they braking, and I think Rosmarino may well have actually turned in on him. To be honest with you, it looks like there was a part of Capoccia's car there, but if there is, yeah, he's got to leave room, and it's touch and go because it's such a fast corner, and we've seen that decide championships in the past. If you look back to real racing and look back to the 1993 season, and the 1994.
Sorry,
1993.
No, the 1990 season.
Oh, sorry, 1990. What am I talking about?
Yeah,
exactly the same spot, and there's a gap. He's gone for it. He's alongside, and then, to be fair, the onboard camera, to me, says Rosmarino turned in, but I mean, he's got every right to turn in. But there is a car there, so you can't just take your normal line through there. Which, whether he's just not seen him because it is high speed and he's too busy focusing on the corner rather than what's going on around him, but he should have seen Capoccia had a run on him in the mirror anyway. So it's kind of a 50-50 on my part, but we'll see. Have to see what the stewards say about it, to be honest, after the race, and hopefully it isn't like a completely championship defining moment.
Could be. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. In the meantime, there is Tozzato behind Onorati.
Yeah, so before we were reviewing incidents and whatnot, Onorati actually at the beginning of this lap, they're just coming up to the end of it now, through turn 2, he actually had the rear tyres lit up and full on was in a drift through turn 2, and I think his rear tyres might be going off because here comes the Mercedes and he's actually had to get out of it there. But as you can see here, you should see two big lines. There you go. Do you see him on the road? The big two black lines through that corner. It was actually Onorati in the Mercedes, in the Aston Martin, that put them there the lap previous. So looks like he's struggling with rear grip. I mean, they've closed the gap down to Porter a little bit. It's only 1.7 now. It's only a couple of tenths found there for these two. But obviously they're battling. So as soon as there's any kind of side-by-side action, that gap's going to open up once again. But Luca Lozio at the moment driving masterfully at the front, 15.4 second lead after only 25 minutes. So pulling away at nearly, what will it be, about 7/10 a lap, something like that.
More or less, yes.
but still a great battle going on for third. So we'll see if the new driver Onorati can hold this position or even improve in the next hour and 20 minutes. Obviously a long way to go, but it is now very dark, but I'm fully expected to see some raindrops anytime now.
Yeah, I want to point out the difference in maximum speed and top speed between those two cars, because if you watch it now, Tozzato will get a very high advantage regarding top speed, and will catch Onorato in front. But the Aston Martin has a bit more grip corners, so he's not really able to get alongside him and try and go for the overtake. So it's a really complicated situation for Tozzato. He knows he's faster, but he cannot overtake him because he doesn't find the space.
Yeah, it's quite hard because the fast corners here are all, well, the fast turn 1 doesn't help because after a long straight there's not really a braking zone. The only one that is probably into the final chicane, and even that has 130R where you've got to follow the car ahead of you very closely, and with the wake of the other car ahead making you understeer, as well as the Mercedes being a front engine car, you're going to pick up a bit more understeer through that fast, well, probably the fastest corner on the circuit by some way, I would think, for these cars. And yeah, he's going to struggle to follow through that one corner, which is then going to put him a bit further back into the braking zone of the chicane. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can find a way around anywhere. And actually there, Onorati running a little bit wide, as I said, through Degner 2, and you can see spots of rain now in the lens of the camera. Yes, we can.
Yeah,
there we
it's
go.
starting to rain.
Yeah, it's
It is now
starting to rain.
raining, yeah. So interesting to see how this strategy plays out. When do these drivers pit? Do you pit early and try and get the benefit of the wet tyres early on, or do you wait it out and try and survive on dry tyres? As the Mercedes is now going to try down the inside, is he? No, not quite, into Spoon. He's going to bide his time, as the Aston actually ran a little bit wide over the curbing, but he has now pulled out a few car lengths gap, which is going to help him down this straight, as we said. What would you guys be doing in this situation then with the rain? Would you be pitting early, or?
I think everyone is just waiting to see how the tarmac evolves, but you miss the pit entry and you are in the wrong lap, and the rain goes on. All of a sudden you are in big trouble. So it's quite like a big dicing moment for everyone, in particular for Logio, because he's the man who has the most to lost from a wrong tactical decision.
Yeah, he's the one that could lose out massively with his 18-second lead, but Puzzarini's just been trying around the outside of Colombo in the chicane, in the braking zone. I think he's going to have another go down here into turn 1 if he can get the run. He's in the slipstream, as is everyone else. He's going to chink to the inside, but just show his lights to just make Colombo know he's there. But in the background is Jamfrest. He's now back up into 10th place, so driving well again from him. He's in contention with these guys for potentially 7th. Yeah, so this is 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th in this battle here, so could still be on for a strong result, Jamfrest.
Actually, it's raining, but we aren't seeing water sprinkles.
Pucciolini off!
Pucciolini!
Good save!
Yeah, this means that the tarmac is definitely wet, but we are not seeing the sprinkles coming up from the rear tires, so we are quite on the limit of the grip of the big tires, but changing moment, I think it's coming soon.
Yeah, it's going to be 1 or 2 laps, I would think, so Jamfrest benefits in that, and Colombo's all on the back now of Luccioli into Spoon Corner. Is he going to think about making a move now down into here? Ferrari very good on the brakes, so if he can, he's going to squeeze up the inside, but no, he's right tucked up under the rear wing though. going to try and get an exit out of Spoon Corner. But yeah, Puzzarini really nearly lost the car in a big way then as well because of the wet weather. No pit stop yet from the lead 4 cars as we're on board with Tozzato here. You can see Honorati defending down the pit straight to try and break the toe and then moving back to the racing line, but obviously giving the Mercedes some space, but just about holding him at bay. And if you look at the gap now, Honorati is a little bit closer to Porter again. He's there in shot with him now, so Porter coming back into the mix for this secondary scrap for P3.
The circuit is getting wet, so Puzzarini going wide at exit of the S's, and that's a sign. It represents the track getting really wet. So we don't know if I really don't know if they're going in the pits this lap, but I don't think that the track will get wet really quick. Because 2 laps, the lap times are not getting that slow. So it's gonna be interesting watching the strategies, all the drivers, and watching how the race evolves. We still have 1 hour and 15 minutes, so it's a long race. It's still a long race. So
from the density of the rain,
Porter's off.
There's
Porter's
an
off
Aston
the track.
Martin.
Yeah, Porter's off the track and on the exit of Spoon, so it is definitely wet now. And he nearly actually squeezed the Mercedes onto the grass then. He was bumping and across the very edge of the track, Tozzato was then. So that's Honorati up into P2 and Tozzato P3. I think Porter did manage to avoid the wall, but let's see now if he decides, no, that's enough, it's wet enough now. Let's see if he dives into pit lane or not.
Yeah, rain is definitely
No,
coming,
stays
but
out.
nobody's stopping.
So even after that big incident,
Tozzato got in P2.
Yeah.
Tozzato
he did.
overtook Honorati, and he's now in P2. So he got a really great traction, or Honorati did a mistake on going on the power. The last corner is really critical because
here we go. We're gonna
accelerate.
see Porter's mistake as well here. So let's see what happened. So into the second part of Spoon Corner. He's on the curb, that's why. He's on the curb and he's lost the rear end. And has he got to touch the wall? Oh, just about. Just a tiny touch on the wall, but did really well to keep it on the wet grass out of the wall completely. And as you say, Tozzato up into P2. It'd be interesting to see if it was a mistake from Honorati or whether it was just superior traction of the Mercedes in these conditions. But Capoccia now up into 5th place, and he's catching these guys. He's 6.8 behind the battle ahead of him, so he could still well be on for a good result, and obviously penalties dependent and whatnot. We could see a battle between him and Lozio if Lozio's to drop any of that 25-second lead that he's built up, which is in the last 2 laps is actually extended by about 6 seconds. It's gone up massively because of Porter's mistake and Honorati's mistake as well, and those guys are all fighting for position. The gap has opened up massively, and obviously the conditions playing a big part in that as well.
Yeah, actually looking at the championship standings and also the points awarded, Lozio situation is safe because until he stays in 1st place, there's no chance for Capoccia to get him because the first driver gets 50 points while the second driver gets 45 points. So, Colombo almost lost it, but managed to keep it. So if Capoccia somehow it's able to get to the 2nd place, it won't be enough because 4 points. He has actually 4 points of gap on Lozio, but Lozio with a win will get 5 points on him, so he will win the championship by 1 single point. If Lozio has some kind of issues, rain with the strategy and so on, and loses some position, now this is the only chance for Capoccia for the championship to be be put on the line for and having serious chances to win.
Yeah, so
The
Porter
drivers.
was the first driver to dive into the pit lane.
Yeah.
And then it was Luccioli, and Colombo is now in pit lane as well. So a few guys deciding that that's enough on the slick tyres and deciding to take the wets. We'll see if Luca Lozio does this time. You can see his best lap time was a 2-minute 02.2. So that's a mouthful. Followed by the last lap, if you look, is a 2-minute 10. So they've actually lost 8 seconds a lap, over 8 seconds a lap, because of these conditions. Obviously, they are still running on dry tyres, and waiting to put on the wets. So Porter's
now it's wet time, definitely.
Definitely, yeah. Porter's now back out of the pit lane, and who else is in? Yeah, Luccioli and Colombo are still in pit lane, so they're yet to take their wets. But Porter's back out in 8th place, possibly. Yeah, he's going to be 8th place, I would think. I don't think Colombo will get him. No, he does. Porter down in 9th now. So let's see what happens here, because you can see it's raining very, very heavily now. The drivers are going to have to dive in pit lane surely at the end of this lap. And do you know, I don't think Luca Lozio has. I think he's actually come past the line. And here's the mistake from Onorati. There you go. He had a mistake coming out of the final corner and was nearly on the grass, and that's what allowed Tozzato to get through in the Mercedes. Is he going to dive in now? Tozzato does. So does Onorati. Let's see if Capoccia does. Because Capoccia's only 5 seconds behind this battle now. He was 6 point something before. And there he is. I don't know whether actually there. He might have been speeding in pit lane. Then he coming across very quickly into pit in. Obviously, you have to slow the car down before those boards.
Still out.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I think he's going to be losing time here now, because I think
it is.
That car,
there's
that Aston Martin.
There's an Aston on wet tires.
Yes.
Passing by.
Yeah, definitely he's on wets, because you can see how much of a traction advantage he had. He literally drove around the outside of Lozio, so could be a bad strategy call from Lozio's part here, because he's going to have to keep it on the road for another half a lap and then hopefully dive in pit lane.
Yeah.
Cartu ran also in the pit lane now as well.
But I think that crucially, with the advantage that the Lozio has, it's more important not to make bad mistakes rather than losing 10 or 15 seconds. Because he had, before the pit, how many seconds of advantage on the second driver? 28, 26?
It was about 26, 27 seconds, yeah, something along the lines. If you look at his lap time now, so his last lap we were talking was a 2-minute 10. It's now a 2-minute 15. He's just cost another 5 seconds.
2 and 20 likely this one, or worse.
Yeah, so he's gonna have to. If he doesn't pit this lap, he's just gonna be making his life a lot harder than it needs to be. He's got a massive lead. The only drivers not to pit is Lozio, Puzzarini. Yeah, I think that's it actually. I feel like it's only Lozio.
Capoccia pitted, and this should be in third, fourth position maybe. Is passed by the other, like Rotundo.
Yeah, Porter's gone past him now as well, which
and
you would
Lozio
expect.
coming in the pits right now.
Tozzato's gone past Capoccia, so Capoccia may have actually gained now and got ahead of Onorati, which I think he has. There's Tozzato ahead, is it? Yes, there's a Mercedes. So there's the Mercedes, then there's Capoccia, then there's Onorato. So the big gainer in all of that, really, I think, is Capoccia, because he was about 5 seconds behind this battle, and now he's right in the mix. So have to see where Porter is when the timing sheets update. Just see how twitchy it is now. Bad the visibility is as well behind the other car. So
Capoccia is coming to the spoker right now, while Lozio is still in the pits. I think that Lozio will come out in front nonetheless. Let's see how much seconds.
You can just see now the Mercedes stretching its legs down the straight now into 130R. See how much of a gap is pulled out just down that straight alone. but then the Ferrari makes up ground through 130R, and Lozio's already out of the pit lane. So these guys are definitely still a long way behind Luca Lozio, even with him staying out on those tyres for a long time.
Look at the action he has to make
Yeah.
to keep the car straight.
Yeah.
It's so wet out there.
It's
raining
manic.
so hard. And that is actually really entertaining to see, because you get to experience the struggle that the drivers have to face on
And
these
also the bad
conditions.
visibility.
Yeah, that's a key factor. You really can't see outside. So you have to remember the track. You have to have that muscular memory to get that line good and also keep the car straight. So it's really critical now. It's a critical situation, and Koch is managing it really good. He gained about 6 seconds on Gonzalo, I think.
Yeah, definitely around about that, because it was Tozzato who was in a net P2 before the pit stop. Then it was Onorati, then it was Porter. So actually Porter has been the big gainer, because he's 5 seconds ahead of this battle. So he's gained. Tozzato obviously under threat here from Capoccia, and then Onorati being probably the one who's come off worst of everyone. But
And
the
now
Ferrari,
it's a thunderstorm, guys. Look at this.
it's thunderstorm conditions, is it? Wow, so the spray, and you can see how much they're all twitching around. There's so many long sweeping corners at Suzuka. Everyone is fighting for grip everywhere, on every inch of the
Amazing.
track, even on wet tyres. So it's going to be a long race for these guys with 1 hour and 4 minute 20 to go. We're really going to be in for a thrilling race for the rest of this, because it could be mental for any driver, really,
Yeah.
because you could just see, as we were saying, how hard it was to follow. So Lozio actually did lose quite a lot of time, because Puzzarini now pits, so he's going to obviously tumble down the order, probably still in the top 10 though, I would think. But then Porter was 14 seconds behind Puzzarini, and Puzzarini was about 2.5 behind Lozio, so I make that as about 16.5 seconds. There you go, 16.2. So Porter's 16.2 behind Lozio, so that's actually come down about 10 seconds, the lead gap from first to second.
Now
I think that.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think-
Roberto.
Oh, no, okay.
No,
I
go
think
ahead,
that,
go ahead, sorry.
the choice Lozio made of getting another lap on slick tires was not smart, because the track was getting wet quick, as and the car really did not have grip, so he lost a big chunk of time. So I think he lost about 8 seconds, 7 seconds. I don't know exactly, but he has to face this kind of grip for another hour, and it's not simple for him. He has to manage the car, so it's really good. Oh,
Contact!
watch out for
He's spun in.
Capoccia!
Capoccia. Oh, and he's going to rejoin Ryan from the Aston.
No.
Oh, so yeah, Capoccia made an error and tagged the back of the Mercedes, spun him round, but did wait for him, which is very sportsmanlike of the Ferrari driver. But that has now allowed Onorati back through, because
That's right.
he was behind these guys, and he looked like he was struggling. Onorati did, to be honest. And Capoccia's now all over the curb as well at Spoon, and nearly loses the car, but gathers it all back up. I feel like this is going to be a three-way battle in a minute, because, as I said, Onorati was falling back, so he's slower than these two guys at the moment. So whether he's trying to get some temperature into the tyres, and he's on the grass on the way into 130R, and he's actually gone off the track, I think, has he? I think he has. Yes,
Yeah,
he
he's gone.
rejoins.
Yeah, he's gone wide.
He's gone wide because he hit the grass on the way in, and that's allowed Tozzato back through, and there's contact
Watch
between
out
the
for
Ferrari and the
Capoccia
Aston.
around the outside.
Capoccia managing to get through, does he? Yes, just about. So
Wow.
Onorati only gains 2 places for half a lap and then gives them straight back because he ran wide. And then Capoccia had to seize that opportunity then, because I fear if he got stuck behind Honorati, he might not, that would have been it. Tozzato would have been gone down the road. Meanwhile, Luca Lozio leading 15.7 seconds ahead of Porter. So Porter going well now because he's 11 seconds after that contact between Capoccia and Tozzato. It's given Porter an 11-second gap, so he's looking very comfortable in P2 now.
That was a wonderful move by Capoccia. Really, really well done. He stayed around the outside, he braked really hard, and there's nothing Honorati could do to prevent Capoccia to overtake him. So he lost place and was really well deserved from.
Yeah, great move from him, as you say, around the outside at the chicane. But all of that came about because of his mistake at the hairpin, which is ironic. But he did nevertheless wait for the Mercedes driver to get back going again. So I feel like that one might be one of those ones that is let slide maybe, but that's the third incident that Capoccia's been involved in this race, so you can just see how hard he's pushing to get this this championship.
Yeah, well, I think we must praise Capoccia for his mental strength, because he had a really bad start of the race. He had a bad qualifying, and he tried to recover, but he had a big first contact with Rosmarino, then a second one, then this third one, and just imagine how your psychological situation could be when you are seeing the championship slipping away this way from your hands. So the guy is definitely one of the one of that it doesn't give up. Because especially in this condition, everything can happen. So kudos to Andrea for keeping up and don't giving up his chances for the title.
We just had a spinner as well. I think it was one of the Porsches at 130R. We just saw Dondi and Lucioli go flying past, and I think it might have been possibly Colombo or Rotundo. I don't think it was Puzzarini.
Or Puzzarini.
Because it didn't look like a green Porsche. That was my thinking. So it's probably going to be one of the other Porsches. And obviously, it's not Luca Lozio.
Now it's raining so hard you can even see the cars in the main straight.
Yeah, the rain is now increased according to the race direction. I think it's 60% rain and wet.
Going sideways.
Classing it as. And now it's Capoccia versus Tozzato round 2 into the hairpin again. Capoccia's awfully close. Is he going to think about a move again? He's all over the curb on the inside, but is he going to get a better exit than the Mercedes? Mercedes looks like he's struggling once again. Capoccia dying to get past if he can and get further down the road, because this is for P3. Remember.
See in the downhill part leading to the spoon curve how hard is moving the rear of the Ferrari, that basically all the cars driver must be quite aware of the white lines like this one on the right part of the track, because became a trap quite quickly. Really masterful driving for all the drivers in front.
Yeah, it's very difficult conditions. As you say, avoiding the white lines is one thing, but doing that when you're following behind another car in the heat of battle, you are going to be struggling to even see where the white lines are with the spray. So difficult all round. And Honorati, you've just seen coming through the back a shot as well. Like I said, he's dropped back a little bit. He's 2.1 behind now.
In the meantime, we lost some drivers. Actually, just 14 drivers in the race, and how many drivers in full lap? Just 5 drivers. Because I see in the Dondi is the first lapped one that is in 60. Seventh position.
Lucioli there going off the track at turn 1 as well. I've just had a bit of a lag on my end. Let me just sort that out. But yeah, Lucioli just went completely off the road down at turn 1. But he looks to have got back going again. Don't know whether Dondi has now made his way through or not, but we'll have to see. Tozzato still defending 3rd position. For only 0.2 of a second. How do you think this battle's going to go? Do you think Capoccia's going to get through and clear off? Or do you reckon there's going to be more incidents as Tozzato there loops really, really wide going into Spoon Corner? And he's going to open the door now, and Capoccia's going to take his opportunity. So whilst we're talking about what Capoccia's going to do, he seizes the opportunity and goes through on the inside. And he's got the position, and I think that's job done.
Oh, maybe I'm seeing some lag for everyone.
Yeah, I've been getting some lag as well, but we are...
So the screen froze. No, they're still there, luckily.
Capoccia was side by side with the Mercedes there, because the Mercedes got a really good drive off the corner after he passed him. And now the Mercedes is nearly into the back of the Ferrari, but just about managing to get away with it. The Mercedes now is going to come back, though, I'm sure, at Capoccia here. If he can get a good drive through the long, long right-hander, the last corner. The Mercedes is close, you know. He's going to have a go down into turn 1. Capoccia's defending the inside to try and get the slipstream broken, but here comes the Mercedes down around the outside, but he does think better of it and doesn't send one down the outside, but he's now going to send one up the inside. Is he nearly? Not quite. And I think I've just seen Onorati go completely off the track nearly as well, although he is still there, just in the back of shot. But the Mercedes and the Ferrari are so evenly matched around this track in these conditions. The Mercedes has the legs, and the Ferrari has the cornering ability. It's a very, very strange trade-off, but the brilliant bit of driving from both of them there.
What a slide of the Mercedes.
Yeah,
amazing.
The Mercedes having a huge moment there. And I did just see a yellow flag at the top of the screen as well, so there's obviously an incident happening somewhere else as well.
They are pushing like beasts. Great driving.
Pushing indeed to the lead. 16.5 seconds. Lozio to Porter, and then another 9.9 to Capoccia. So a 26-second lead Lozio has over his nearest title contender, which is Capoccia. So really, Lozio just needs to hang on for 53 minutes and he will be crowned champion. So see what he can do about that. So pretty much plain sailing at the moment though for him.
Yeah, these conditions are treacherous. There's really more water on the track than tarmac, so the cars are basically sailing on the track, and they're not driving. So it's really hard to drive out there. You can see the effort they put into getting those cars straight, and yeah, Capoccia is actually really good on the wet. And he's demonstrating it right now, as he gained 2 places after the pit stop, and in these wet conditions he really drove like an animal. That's the result.
Yeah, so with him now ahead of the Mercedes, you can see he's now managed to clear off. His last lap was a 2:19.2. So we'll have to see what the other guys are doing. A 2:20.4 for Tozzato. Obviously, he lost the position on that lap as well. And again, Onorati all over the curb down at turn 1. But again, he is still there. He's managing to keep the car just about on the road. But yeah, with Lozio, obviously we've said that he looks comfortable at the moment. But with 51.5 minutes to go, is it in the back of your mind that if you make one mistake, you put yourself in the wall, that damage that you then have to drive with? Are you thinking about that, or is that not something that you guys would be thinking about if you're in that situation? Would you be just focusing on keeping it on the road? Because I suppose any lapse in concentration, worrying about the after effects of a mistake. Because if you hit the wall, we saw Rosmarino hit the wall very hard, and that was it. That was race over. So if anything along them lines happens to Lozio in any way, that will be curtains for his championship.
And
Yeah,
maybe. Go ahead.
It's not something you think about that much because you always think about it. You always think about not getting the car in the wall, not making any mistakes. But in these conditions, you have to concentrate. You have to keep your focus on getting the car straight. So you rather think about getting the car on the track, not spinning, and getting it safe to the line, and also trying to get fastest lap as you possibly can, rather than thinking about not getting it in the wall.
I was also thinking about this strategy. There is strategy in this race because we are quite used past races to do an educated guesswork about the timing of the pit stop that usually was halfway the race, basically at this moment in a dry race. But since it's 20 minutes of race time that it's raining, maybe half an hour, and that all the drivers have changed for the wet tires, and I'm asking myself if those wet tires will be able to make it until the end of the race. I don't think so. I think that the drivers will require at least another stop to go to the end. Oh, Porta lose it. No, he's been able to stop it on the.
What a brilliant save there from Porter!
Nice save.
I think he touched the grass on the very outer extremity of the track and lost the rear end, but somehow managed to. I think he locked the pedal up, to be honest. He locked all four wheels and that then straightened the front end and managed to get himself back straight and going again. So he's only actually lost about 3 seconds to Lozio doing that. But that, in the meantime, has allowed Capoccia now. It's down to 5.4. So I think Capoccia was catching anyway, but that's helped massively because not only is Capoccia coming with him, coming after him, sorry, Tozzato's going with Capoccia, and so is Onorati. So Porter's going to have to watch his back if he's going to make any little mistakes like that, because all of those add up over the 48 minutes that remain. And as you say, with another pit stop potentially to take as well, I personally agree with the tyres. I don't think they will last a full hour or so in wet conditions, and we were in. When did it start raining? About an hour and 20 to go, an hour and 15 to go.
Yeah.
So you're going to be running on really worn tyres for 15, maybe even 20 minutes at the end of the race. Is it worth that? And are you going to lose too much time by doing that? And then if you pit too late, obviously the guys who do pit and commit to that strategy are going to gain way more than if you decide later on, oh, actually, no, my tyres are quite badly worn. And I need to pit, and then by that time the guys have caught 10-15 seconds on you. So you've got to make that strategy call early on, I think.
I was also thinking about the fuel capacity of the cars. I don't think that the cars could 1 hour 20 minutes straight without refueling, or maybe it's on the limit. I don't know. This could be a deciding factor also for the strategy, depending on how much fuel the drivers had at the start of the race. Maybe considering the fact that they were forecasting a wet race, and so an anticipated speed.
It's nice to see a wet race because obviously all the rest of them have been dry. But nice to see who's good in the rain, which looks to be pretty much everyone in the field, because everyone is doing a pretty good job. Obviously, we've lost a handful of drivers. I think we've lost 5, actually, yeah, dead on a handful of drivers to the mainly the carnage at the beginning, probably before the rain even actually appeared, but Bilancini still going after his incidents, Rotundo still going after his incidents as well. Colombo and Dondi caught up in a few incidents, so all the guys doing really well. Jamfres now up into 7th, so he's managed to carry on going. And Gagliardini, who after both of those guys got spun around by Dondi, Dondi now finds himself behind them both, even after that. So Dondi still might have a penalty to come, and he's behind the guys he was fighting at the time. So very good driving from those guys to keep going and get themselves back up into the top 10. But Capoccia now is only 4 seconds behind Porter, so he is closing him down. Tozzato's dropped back a bit now because Capoccia's absolutely flying. He's into the 17s. Meanwhile, Porter's only in nearly a 23. So Porter really struggling. But I think, was that not the lap with his mistake? Quite possibly. Let's see what he does this time around. He was on a 22.9 last lap, and it's a 18.6, so a much better lap from Porter. So that lap time was including that 3 or 4 second mistake. But Capoccia is on the hunt to try and get up into P2 if he can.
Yeah, I'm really wondering how quick is Losio going, because in the first race at Silverstone, in the mixed conditions, the track was not that wet. We're still able to get on there on slick tires, but he found some trouble in the rain. So I really want to know how quick he's going, because I went to compare it to Capoccia, but I don't think he's going slower than Capoccia, because the gap is still about 20. Oh, watch out for that slide. That was a massive slide from Capoccia. He managed to keep it. But that is the sign. That shows you how wet, how difficult is the track right now.
Yeah, and how hard he's pushing as well. Pushing the car back to that extreme and losing the car in a big way. But like you say, managing to catch it. Just look how hard he's working the wheel through this corner here. It's not in the dry. This isn't the corner. This is a straight in the dry. Whereas in the wet, it becomes a full-on corner that you really have to pay attention to. Otherwise, it will catch you out. Every single moment of this race in the rain, it looks like the drivers are literally putting steering inputs even down the straights with the aquaplaning. Obviously, we said it was a thunderstorm that has rolled in, so it is very wet, and you can definitely tell when you're on board with the drivers. And he hasn't even lost any time to Porter. If anything, he's caught him even with that mistake. And he's sideways again through 130. What a brilliant catch that was on the curb. Brilliant bit of driving and car control from Capoccia. I thought that was curtains for the Ferrari. I thought that was it.
Oh God, I would have killed myself 3 times doing the same thing. Amazing drive by Capoccia.
He's just had 2 moments like that, yet he's pulled away from the Mercedes of Tozzato. He's caught Porter by another half a second. I can't believe what I'm seeing. At 17.8, even with mistakes. Brilliant drive.
I would like to see actually Capoccia on a live cam, how he's working the wheel in real. Would be amazing to see. Colombo in the meantime on Dondi.
Yeah, he's right behind him after exiting the hairpin, and he's going to drop back a touch through Spoon Corner, and Car2Ran looks like is there. No, that isn't Car2Ran, that's Colombo in the black Porsche, isn't he? Where's Car2Ran gone then? Because Car2Ran is registered as 11th, whereas I think this is Colombo in 12th, I'm pretty certain, because that's not an Aston Martin behind this battle. And Colombo's looking to the inside of 130R, which is going to be brave, and does back out of it, because that is a dodgy move to say the least. But we're on board now with the second camera for Luca Losio, so here you go, you can have a look at how the race leader's getting on with the steering wheel inputs.
Yeah, he's lap 8. That's actually a good time. The only the only driver that's getting faster than that is Capoccia, that's doing 17s. And I'm actually thinking that Rosio is actually kind of backing up a bit because he does not want to throw this victory away. It's really important for him to get this win if we want to get the championship. So these laps and these last minutes will be critical for both Losio and Capoccia. So we have to get an eye on them and check them out. I don't know if Capoccia will get Losio at the end of the race. It's gonna be tough, but I don't know if it's possible. I don't think it's impossible.
In the chat they are actually asking events like this who take the championship home. It will be Losio by 3 points actually.
Losio by only 3 points, so
Yep.
that's how it would stand at the moment, with obviously potential penalties looming from this race, but obviously they will come after the race is finished, so we won't actually know straight away what those implications mean. But 3 points in the grand scheme of things over a 5-race championship, each of 1 hour 45 minutes, that is a close championship. That is very, well, brilliant, to be honest, to see drivers that close after all them minutes of racing, all them laps, all that practice. To be only separated by 3 points is a brilliant achievement. So even if Capoccia does get P2, he won't be going away empty-handed, because there is prizes for the top 3 drivers in this championship. So bear that in mind as well. So I don't think he'll be unhappy, but obviously top honours going to Luca Losio at this moment, and hopefully haven't given him the commentator's curse. But if he does hang on to claim the championship, obviously that's what most people will remember. I believe is this the first championship that Esports Series have run on ACC? Or yeah, so he'll be the season 1 champion. So that is something that no one can ever take away from him. And obviously as well, him being such a young guy as well, hearing that he's a very young teenager, so he's got plenty of experience already from not only this championship, but obviously all the practice he's done and all sorts, and to beat off the competition, which, don't get me wrong, this field of drivers, especially when I first saw it, I didn't know what to expect initially, because I'd never seen a lot of the drivers, because obviously being more of an Italian-based championship, and with you wanting to expand out more into a full European, worldwide market, bringing me on board allowed me to experience a lot of these drivers. Obviously, I saw a handful of them before, but the strength of field is brilliant. So, and it's only going to get stronger in the next championship, and the next one after that, and the next one after that. So, it's going to be very interesting to see who can come along, and hopefully Luca Losio will return, and the likes of Capoccia and Tozzato and all of the other big names that we've seen here. Montalbano obviously not here tonight as well, and also Amir Hossini, who made almost like a guest appearance last time out. It's going to be very interesting now to see who comes along and tries to steal that crown away from whoever does eventually win season 1 of the championship, and see what happens in the future, because I feel like it's only going to get bigger and better and more competitive as well.
I have to correct a bit myself. If the things like stays this way, Losio will won by 4 points, not 3. 4 points. If Capoccia will be able to pass Porta, there will be just 1 point gap between him and Losio. Losio hasn't been involved in any situation that could be arresting protest wise. So for the moment, Losio result seems in a safe spot, while Capoccia has likely his result being impounded by the steward, some steward decisions, but you can give it for granted because let's remember that the race direction didn't have is not mandatory for the race direction to side of on a crash if the one of the drivers doesn't present a specific protest. So it's not, it must not be taken for granted the fact that the situation that has Capoccia in the during the race could be put under the steward decision.
Yeah, so it just shows that over a 5-race championship or even longer, over these championships, every point matters, because even if you might be 20th position, if you're still scoring a point for 20th position, then it's well worth picking that extra point up. I mean, what are the points paid positions? Where do they go down to? Where do you earn points until? Is it 15th or 20th?
Sorry?
Where do you earn points? What was the last position you can get to still earn points?
Let me check.
It's the 26th.
26th.
26th, yeah.
1
So
point.
if you're running in 26th place and you've had an absolute horror show and you qualified on pole or near the front and you've had a very really torrid time of it, if you're still picking up points, it could prove dividends at the end of the championship in this kind of situation where penalties have come into it as well. Obviously, Lozio getting a penalty last time out is putting 4 points behind. Obviously, this result could then put him back ahead. So it's all ebbs and flows of a championship, which is exactly what we have in real life, and it's exactly what we have in sim racing.
It doesn't seem drop off.
Yeah.
Rain. It's
Meanwhile,
raining hard. And how many time have those tires of wet racing? We are more or less half an hour, 40 minutes.
Yes, around. Yeah, I would say about 40 minutes is like a definite. I'm sure it started raining like fully with around about an hour and 10 left, but it did start initially with about an hour and 20, an hour and 15 to go. So yeah, probably about half an hour to 40 minutes in. Oh, and a big, massive catch from Capoccia. Did you see that? The movement of the wheel. He nearly fully lost it. Near enough on the straight. He was at the very, very end of the corner, and he's on the straight, and he somehow flicked the car left and caught the front end because it was going straight towards the pit wall. That was what a cracking save from Capoccia once again. All behind the spray of Porter.
yeah,
So Porter's got to be loving this because he can see where he's going. Well, just about. Whereas Capoccia can't see anything.
yeah, you cannot see anything. You can't even see outside of your windshield. So it's really tough for Capoccia now, and that recovery was wonderful. He did amazing control.
It's driving my memory clearly. Amazing.
Yeah, that is actually true, and that's what I said.
Mistake, Porta.
Porter's off the track, and he nearly rejoins right in front of Capoccia, and he's nearly in the back of him. I don't think Capoccia's going to be happy with that. He's going to come back at him now into the hairpin. Is he going to send it down the inside? No. The Aston Martin defends, and he's trying around the outside now, and he's touched.
There he goes
and again, Capoccia has spun another driver out at the hairpin. What is it with these Ferrari drivers in the hairpin? He's actually now carried on. He's left Porter. He's gone, no, I'm not having that. You've spun yourself around there, mate. I'm going to carry on. So Capoccia
has lost some places, I think.
Yeah,
on
he's going to lose out.
Tozzato.
Yeah, Tozzato and Onorati have definitely got past him. I'm not sure about Luccioli. I think he's a bit further back, and now Capoccia's off the track, and so's Onorati. Onorati has actually got ahead of Tozzato. I didn't realise that before.
Maybe
we didn't
Tozzato's
realize.
made some mistake.
I actually didn't see any in this view, by my point of view, I didn't see any contact between Capoccia and Porta. So I don't know if Porta just spun all by himself, or
It could well have
Capoccia
done.
actually touched him.
Because
he touched. No, he touched it. He touched it.
Kapoccia did wait
at the hairpin.
for Tozzato when he spun him around, if you remember.
And that was
Obviously he knew that was his bad, and he decided, yeah, I'm going to wait. Whereas that situation, Kapoccia ended up hitting the door of Porter as he was in front of him, and then he pulled away and around him and actually carried on as normal. And Porter's now really struggling with something. Has he got a puncture or something? Or has he just nearly lost it coming down the straight? Because he was awfully slow just then, and he's now 10 seconds back from everyone else.
I've gone to the race streaming to ask for a replay if it's possible.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get like a helicam shot possibly, because of the small touch. It could only have been a tiny touch, but Porter's off the track again. I think he might have a puncture, because there's no reason why he would be off the track constantly, and he seems to not be able to get it on the black stuff. I'm not sure
or he
why.
can have a bent suspension. I don't know, actually. Because
the contact definitely hasn't damaged his car that much, unless it was more severe in-game than what we saw. But I don't think it was, because the car wouldn't have got damaged from that kind of contact that we saw. No way.
Now seems being able to get his pace.
He seems back on it again now. And Onorati this is now. He's now under threat from Tozzato again. And I don't know what's been happening here, but these guys have been shuffling positions as well whilst we were watching Kapoccia and Porter battling away. But Kapoccia's carrying on as normal, so he believes he's okay. And these guys are going to carry on fighting as well, so Kapoccia is on the hunt to try and catch that man Luca Lozio. So we're going to have to keep an eye on the lap times with 30 minutes to go. And obviously this whole situation with do they pit again for tyres, because I think the rain's eased off a little bit now. It isn't quite as heavy, but the track is still very wet.
Yeah, it is. It is raining.
The Mercedes, the Aston, sorry, not the Mercedes. The Mercedes takes avoiding action because Onorati's just lost it. He's lost it through 130R on the exit curb in very, very wet part of the track, and he's lost the car and into the wall, and that's going to be him coming into pit lane, I would think, to repair that damage, but Tozzato narrowly missing, And actually, Onorati doesn't pit. He stays out. You can see him in the background there, but he's going to have damage. Sorry to interrupt you there, but that was a massive accident for
that was really
Onorati.
hard. That was a really hard hit. That was a really massive hit. He just lost it going through 130R, and it's really slippery out there. If you barely touch the curb, you get sideways. There's no way you can stand that. And so the drivers have to be 3 times, 4 times, 5 times more careful. And if you lose 1% of your concentration, you get in the wall, and that's what happened to Onorati. So it's really, really hard out there.
Just want to point out as well, I think on that last lap, Luca Lozio lost 3 seconds to Kapoccia, I think.
Yes.
And I'm sure the gap was nearly 30 seconds, and it's now only 25 roughly. So
last time I checked,
the lap times.
Yeah, I'm too. Last time I checked, it was I think the end of last lap, and the gap was at 27 seconds. So he really lost a lot out there. So it's, I don't know if he did make a mistake or just. I think he seriously made a mistake, or the track is getting really wet, and it's getting actually wetter. So
here comes the replay as well of Onorati. There he goes. He's on the AstroTurf, and he loses the car. He has a twitch, and then he fully bites him as he rejoins the tarmac. And that's a heavy, heavy hit, as we said, into the wall. So he's really going to struggle now from here on out. He's going to have to try and keep. So Porter is now on the back of his teammate. Porter's going to hopefully clear Onorati quite quickly so he can try and chase after Tozzato, because he's now 12.3 down the road and looking quite comfortable in 3rd place now is the Mercedes. But Porter, yeah, there we go. He's already passed Honorati because we've just seen Honorati in the
Oh.
background coming into pit lane. There you go. In the
Yeah,
pits.
Porta has had another huge slide. It was a really huge oversteer out of the final corner, and he managed to keep that. So all the drivers up front are really struggling, are really doing an amazing job, and that's actually
I think
really good
Roberto
to
that
see.
by now it's not even it's not anymore an issue of wet tarmac, but I think that the consumption of the tire is starting to kick in. And because after the drivers have changed their tires at the start of the wet period, they weren't sliding so much, especially during the traction, exiting in traction from the corner. So actually, I'm thinking that some of them are trying to get desperately until the end of the race with dead tires, knowing that if they are stopping, they will be losing a massive amount of positions.
Yeah, so we just actually had it confirmed as well. No more rain expected in 5 minutes. So this sprinkling of rain you can see falling now is going to stop in around 5 minutes. As Honorati's been given a stop-go penalty of 30 seconds. When he's just come in to repair that damage, he's been caught speeding in pit lane. So a double whammy really for Honorati. He's going to have to come in and serve that penalty as well. So his day goes from bad to worse. And yeah, Capoccia is catching Lozio, definitely.
Can I point out just one thing, and that's an amazing thing? Last lap from Capoccia was a 2:14.9.
Let's see what this lap is as well. Yeah, I noticed that before. He's going to the inside. So I think what he's trying to do there is actually cool his tyres, as you were saying about trying to get his tyres to the end. So he's just done
Another
a 14.2 that time around, and he took another second or so out of Lozio. And this is going to be so interesting now because how quickly is the track going to dry when it does stop raining? Because people are going to be on super old tyres anyway, and as the track dries, it's going to churn the tyres up even more. So is it going to be a case of in the final 5 minutes pitting for a set of dry tyres, or and finding like 4 or 5 seconds, maybe even 6, 7, 8 seconds a lap on your rivals? It could go any way this, so stay tuned to this action, because I can already see parts of the track and certain parts are dry, little dry patches here and there. So let's just see, because the tyres surely are going to be starting to, like you say, run on the last legs and not quite optimum anymore.
And also to add, let's say, are you British say, to add insult to the injury, it's coming the night also.
Yeah. So the phrase is exactly as you say, adding insult to injury. So here comes the Aston to serve his penalty. That's Honorati diving in the pit lane to serve that. But yeah, adding insult to injury is basically where like things go bad to worse. Basically, that is exactly what it means. So you've already got an injury, and you're throwing an insult at them as well. So imagine you with a broken leg, and then someone giving you some verbal abuse as well.
In Italian, we got something similar like cornuto and mazziato.
Is that how you said? Is that how it's said?
It's basically the Italian version to adding insult to the injury.
Right. Cool. It's cool to know that even in Italy, they have different phrases that are very similar. Obviously worded completely different, but they mean the same thing basically.
So everything seems locked up for the championship map, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't know about these penalties. Well, potential penalties, let's say. The only major one being Capoccia, because Car2Ran running down in P8 isn't going to be able to get himself involved in that main championship battle, but still going to have to pick up some points to keep that third place in the championship. But as for the top 2 places, yeah, I think with us not knowing what Capoccia might be under threat from penalty-wise, Lozio is looking safe at the moment, but as we say, if he goes tumbling down the order all of a sudden with a crash or a retirement or a connection issue or anything, and Kapocha, even with penalties, might score enough points to keep him behind. You never know. As Murray Walker, go on.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not catching up, Lozio. And the time is running out, so he has to push like hell if he wants to get Lozio. But Lozio is really far away, so he has to make really good call on strategy, and I don't know if that's gonna pay up, because the conditions are really tricky at the moment. Still really tricky. If the track is drying up. But I don't think there will be enough time to get a dry line created, so the drivers can put on slicks and stick to that dry line, so they can gain.
Roberto, you have to consider one thing, that the race simulated time is faster than the real time. So basically 20 minutes are remaining of race, but in race time we can consider them like 2 hours. So it could be that other than the cars that are actually passing on the track, you must also consider the time passing by that makes the tarmac drying. So we can't write off the fact that by the end of the race the tarmac could be completely dry. And I never drove an Assetto Corsa Competizione car with dead tires, because by now we are assuming that the wet tires are basically dead on dry tarmac. So I'm thinking what will happen by the end of the race in such a situation.
Yeah, I didn't know that actually. So thanks for the info.
Yeah, I think we started the race, and I think it was around 12 p.m. in game
More or
time.
less, yes.
So it's now 7 p.m. 7:10 p.m. in game, so that's why it's so much darker. But Luccioli here is really trying hard to keep Gianfres behind him. Gianfres could be on for a top 5 finish, starting 18th place. So after that brilliant start, he then went tumbling down the order again with some contact, and then is now fought his way back through over the course of the race, and he's right behind Luccioli, only 6/10 between the two, but the Aston Martin twitching around like crazy. Obviously he's pushing very hard indeed, but the rain has definitely stopped now. It's only spray off the tarmac that we can see. Obviously drivers still got their window wipers going, but it's going to get very tricky now, because not only have you got to try and spot those puddles, but it's going to be harder to spot them and your braking points because of the darkness. And I think there as well, we did see there Kapocha move over to the inside on the straight, and I think we might see him do it again down the pit straight. And I think he's trying to cool the tyres, because they're probably going to be overheating with a slight drier line starting to form. And obviously, there he goes. Yeah, so he's trying to cool the tyres and pick up some more standing water. Obviously you don't want to be doing that through corners, because as the tyres wear, they don't clear the water as well. So if you start going around the outside of each turn trying to pick up standing water to cool the tyres, you will just pick up massive understeer or completely spin off the track, because the tyres are no longer doing their job. But down the straights, obviously you can move over, drive through the puddles as much as you want, and for the most part the car will be stable enough for you to do that easy enough. When it was full on throwing it down with rain very heavily, then you saw the guys twitching around everywhere because there was so much standing water. But you can definitely see some form of it's a drier line. It's not a dry line, but it is drier. But with 17 minutes to go, let's say, and 22.4 seconds covering the top two, Kapocha is closing the gap, just not as quickly as he did initially. So I think Luca Lozio's seen Kapocha in P2, and he's upped the ante and turned up the wick a bit, and
of the race, so we can think about 7 laps, 6 laps, more or 6 more laps, more or less. Will be, yes, they are actually lapping into 13, so yes, 6-7 laps until the end of the race.
Oh,
Easy
there's
man.
an issue.
Lucioli on the straight line. Fun. Luckily,
There
No,
you
was
go
it-
then. Yeah. He's,
luckily
was-
there wasn't anybody around.
Yeah. But I was just trying to say.
Oh, there
these-
was
Oh no,
someone
it
else
was
involved.
Carturan.
Carturan might have been involved in it. I wonder. We'd have to see if we can get a replay, but Jamfrest would have been very, very close in that as well. I don't know whether it might have been Jamfrest and Lucioli getting into strife with each other, and I think that's Colombo going off the track there as well in the Ferrari. He's got back on now, the red Ferrari has, but yeah, Lucioli could have well have span and collected Carturan, or it could have been vice versa, or Jamfrest may have been involved, so we'd have to actually catch a replay if we can of that, because not really sure. We just saw 2 slow cars rejoining from the middle of the pit straight, which is an odd place to have a spin, but nevertheless they
Well,
did. Here we go.
Well, not so hard. Let's remember it's the
He
place.
lost it on his own.
Yeah.
There we go. So Carturan clipped the grass, and I think that was because of a bit of a lack of concentration looking at the slow car parked in the middle of the road, which would have been Lucioli. Lucioli was round. Could have been any issue whatsoever. He's just looped the car, and then Carturan's come round. He's seen a slow car, and whilst he's looking at that, he's dipped a wheel on the grass and looped it himself. So, and has eventually now got back going.
I was thinking about that particular piece of tarmac. It's the right-hander after the KZ triangle that leads to the main straight. I think it's not so hard to pan in that particular place because it doesn't seem from the external camera, but if you are trying to accelerating too hard in this tricky condition, I think it's not too there it goes on the second camera. It's not too hard to made a mistake. There it is, exactly there. Very lucky Lucioli not to collect anyone. Now it goes on the grass. It's spun again.
That would have been
Bad place
Gagliardini
to do this kind of tricky
Yeah,
trickeries.
maybe he was just deciding to show the Japanese fans some trickery, potentially. But yeah, he managed to luckily not collect anyone involved in any of that. So he has dropped 2 places now to Jamfrest and Gagliardini, and Carturan would have had an extra position had he not span when he saw Lucioli in the middle of the road as well. So the gaps now are all coming down a little bit at the front. Tozzato's catching Capoccia a bit. Capoccia's still, he's got the gap now down to under 20 seconds, but I fear it's got to be too little too late now for Capoccia.
Yeah.
Unless the tyres all of a sudden drop off a cliff, because there is punctures in this game. We do have the option where if the driver does push the tyre too hard, it will eventually go bang. And obviously that is not ideal. So we'd have to just wait and see if anything drastic like that happens. But we're 41 laps in, and I feel like we've probably been on wet tyres for at least 30 of those.
Yeah, so these drivers have managed their tires, the wet tires, for about I think an hour.
More than an hour.
Yeah, more than an hour, right? So those tires are done. They have to manage them and get them to the line, or they have to pit. They're pitting or risking, and I don't know if those drivers, especially the 2 up front, are willing to risk it. But Capoccia is the one that has to make some risks if we want to win the championship. So I think at least Capoccia will not pit. I think that's my opinion, my personal opinion. Losio can actually try be safer if he gets on I don't know how to say it. If he gets a safer gap between him and Kabocha, he can pit and manage some pressure tires, less chance of spinning. But Kabocha has to push and recover, but the time is running out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if Kapocha wants to get this championship or even have any chance of an upset, he's gonna have to really put Lozio under some pressure in the next few laps. He's got it down to 17.5 now, so they are both lapping quickly indeed. Lozio's last lap was at 14.0, and I can't quite see what Kapocha's was, but I mean 17.5 seconds. It is coming down, and is Lozio? We've seen earlier on in the season when he was under pressure, he did crumble a little bit under the pressure. In some situations, like for instance at Barcelona, we saw him using his tyres like mad amounts compared with everyone else. Everyone was really kind to the tyres and Lozio wasn't. So has he been more kind this time around on the wet tyres? We'd have to wait and see. Another half second has come out of the gap, but if he starts feeling any kind of pressure, and all it takes is one puddle, one slight touch of the grass, one touch of a white line in these really horrible conditions, let's say, and it could be the difference between a championship and not. And you've just seen him there, all crossed up at Spoon, so he's pushing on. Is Lozio? He's trying to extend the gap or keep the loss at a minimum, because Kapocha's absolutely flying. He's done an 11.8 last lap around, so that Lozio did a 14.0 and an 11.8 from Kapocha is being, what, 2.2 seconds quicker? That is unheard of. So Kapocha's tyres could well be in way better condition, but we just don't know. We have no information to that. We can only go off lap times, and it's now 16.7. So let's see what Lozio's lap time is this time, and then hopefully we'll catch Kapocha's this time around as well.
Thinking how much Kapocha was working the wheel.
There you go, it's 13.1. So it is better from Lozio, but is Kapocha still faster? It was an 11.8 last lap around.
In my opinion, Lozio is just managing the
gap.
Yeah.
So it was an 11.9, so a tenth slower from Kapocha, but still around a second quicker than Lozio. So he's gonna be feeling some pressure with about 4 laps to go, ish, something like that, I would say, because it's the time plus a lap. So yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be 4, maybe 5 laps at a push to go.
Anyway, great work by the tire manufacturers, because those wet tires have lasted more than an hour on treacherous condition, and they are still performing decently on a tarmac that it's actually going drier and drier and drier. So until we are seeing some pictures coming in, good work also by the driver, and we are assuming by their teammates that have helped them, like in doing simulation stints under the wet, because everybody it's going along without stopping. So they have clearly prepared this. They have been prepared for this particular situation, like a long stint under the wet.
Yeah, we can call them the simulator drivers of simulation teams. So it's actually funny to think about that. It's actually pretty funny to think about that. But I want to point out the quality of images, the quality of the graphics. That's just marvelous. You can see the glowing exhaust of that Porsche, the Porsche of Luca Lozio, just glowing. And that exhaust is, I think, about 500 degrees. I don't know, but it's really growing, and it's amazing to see. I can watch it for 12 hours straight.
4 hours. 4 hours.
I do agree that the it's not only the graphics though; it's simple things that you wouldn't necessarily notice, like in normal racing conditions. But in the rain here, you can see just the reflections. You can see the car in the reflection. You can see the lights, the glisten of the lights, like just the glare, and like, as you say, even the exhaust, the middle section, you can see that glowing on the floor as well, and just everything looks brilliant. Like that's why I'm so happy that they're supporting this game with DLC as well as updates, and you know everything is working towards a very, very, very good all-round sim. And it's one area where I would prefer to have a game look like this. And obviously you can tone it down a little bit, you can tone it up if you want to, depending on your system. It is quite a taxing game. Well, sim, should I say. It is a taxing simulator if you compare it to the likes of iRacing and things like that use a lot less resources of your computer. But I would hands down prefer my computer to be running at its maximum and running this game than running hardly anything and running iRacing, because all the attention to detail in this game is fantastic. Like simple things like you say, the glowing exhaust, the number boards on the side, the wipers going, the tiny LEDs in the daylight running lights, and the reflections and everything.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is brilliant.
I'm also quite curious to see how this game will fare on a regular Xbox One or PS4.
Yes, I did say this myself. I was wondering. I said if Project Cars 2 struggles with 16 players, how is Assetto Corsa going to cope? But we will have to see.
They will likely melt the console CPUs, likely.
Yeah, the graphics are, in my opinion, something you don't care about that much when you're a driver, because you want to just focus on getting the as fluid as possible. You don't want stutters or something like that. But if you just are a spectator and you want to watch how much the graphics can go, how much realism can be pushed, that is something you care about. This is just a marvelous job by Kunos.
Yeah.
Really well deserved appreciation for them.
4 minutes to go.
Yeah, 4 minutes to go.
You still got battles raging on. You can see the lights of the Ferris wheel there on the right, the famous Ferris wheel at Suzuka. But Dondi the rain has not fared well for him, because he has lost places from when we were seeing him up running in the top 6 positions. But he is battling with Colombo here, and he's also got Bilancini right behind him, so there's a 3-car battle here with 3 minutes to go. 18.8 seconds now is the gap at front, so that's that done. And Bilancini tries it down the inside, and he's actually door banged him out of the way, and Dondi's flashing his lights. I think he's pressing the flash button, I think, is what he's doing, because I don't think he's very happy with Bilancini, who barged his way through. But he was a fair move if the door was open. And Bilancini in the Aston has actually taken away 10th place, and he's now going to be attacking Colombo himself. So the Aston is all over the back of the Ferrari as well, actually, and he's going to be trying to get past on the inside, and the Colombo's on the grass nearly, and the Aston's got the job done. He's made 2 places in 3 corners. Brilliant bit of racing, and Dondi's now going to try it, is he? Into 130. Oh, that's brave on the wet. Oh, and he does back out of it. I was thinking he was going to try and send it down the inside on the wet patch, but not quite. And here is the third place man, of Tozzato behind all of this in the Mercedes. Oh, and he's lost it. The Ferrari's gone. The Ferrari's lost it. Colombo's looped it round at the final chicane, and you can see the lights flashing in the Mercedes. He knows this is a back marker ahead of him being Dondi, so hopefully Dondi will let him through into turn 1 here. I think he probably is, but he's had to go onto the wet stuff to do it, so careful on the Mercedes, and he does manage to make it through nice and cleanly. But wow, Colombo there touching the AstroTurf in the middle of the chicane and just looped it. It was one of the most slow motion spins I think I've ever seen. But he does rejoin, and he is in 11th, so he's he's lost a couple of places, but Bilancini there being very, very opportunistic. He forced the door open on Dondi. Dondi was trying to get past Colombo, went a bit wide in the hairpin, and that left the door open for Bilancini. Was a bit of contact as he went through, but nothing major, and job done for him. But Capoccia's pace has now started to tail off with 1 minute to go. He's realised that is the day done, I think, and he's not going to get anywhere near Luca Lozio, who's, you have to say, he's driven fantastically to pull a gap like he did in the first dry section of the race to 28 seconds, and then pretty much maintain that all the way through them horrendous conditions, and then it re-dried again pretty much. The track has got a nice dry line now, and a lot less spray coming off the cars, but absolutely brilliant driving from Lozio in the Porsche. So this should be the final lap next time around, I would think. Lozio's probably just crossed the line now, I think.
In the meantime, we've got the race director showing who provided you with this beautiful championship. Oh, Capoccia, another slide on his way off the Kaiser triangle. He doesn't give up. Kudos to him, great driving.
Yeah, he has been involved in a few incidents, but some brilliant driving today from him, definitely.
Now ends the time while the big wheel is glowing on the backdrop. For Luca Lozio, very mature showing from him, my opinion. He deserves to win the championship. Not only this race, but also the championship. I think he has been the driver that has won the most of the race. Let me check.
I'm pretty sure when he wins this one, he definitely will be. As they say, the most winningest driver. So the driver with the most wins in the championship. Obviously, there's only been 5 rounds, but they've been 5 long races. So very taxing on every driver. Anything over an hour is, in sim racing terms, a pretty good stint, to say the least, especially under the heat of battle against plenty of other competitors and drivers of great skill as well. He came up against some very, very tough competition. He's had his fair share of issues as well. Trials and tribulations of a championship, as we spoke about earlier. But Luca Lozio is coming up to the final chicane, and if he can negotiate this with no issues whatsoever, he's going to take the checker flag here at Suzuka.
And the championship.
Win the first season of Assetto Corsa Competizione Esports Series.net Championship. Are we going to see any kind of celebration from Lozio? No flashing of the lights as of yet. Maybe he thinks he just wants to get over the line and make sure he's got the job done, but he does win the championship ahead of this man, who is P2 on the road today in round 5. But Capoccia will come home and take second in the championship as well. And a bit of swerving from him. Nice driving today and all championship long. And then this man, Tozzato, another Luca, coming home in P3. And then Porter.
Another race winner. I was noticing that so far we had 4 different winners in the championship. Porta, Sarini, Capoccia, and Lozio. And tonight Lozio is doing his second win.
Doing the double.
Yeah. Checkered flag.
So there we go. Checker flag for Porter. And a great drive, you have to say.
Yeah.
By Jamfrest, which he's still got half a lap to go here. He's only coming up to Spoon Corner, so he is way down on the leaders. But nevertheless, a P5 from 18th position in them horrible conditions and negotiating all of that chaos at the beginning of the race. You have to say he's driven very well, and he has actually got an indicator going on
Yeah,
the right indicator. He's had that going for most of the race, I think.
It's about to go in the pits, likely.
Yeah, maybe he's just
Let's hope
telling
he's
people to get
doing
in the pit
before,
lane.
after crossing the finish line.
That'll be it, I would think. But yeah, he's driven a brilliant race, I have to say. I've raced Jamfrest before, and he is a fair, clean racer, and that's why obviously we saw him get through all of that chaos at the beginning and gain plenty of places. Then he unfortunately got tagged around by Dondi, fell back through the field, but does recover and takes home a stellar P5 performance. Getting a top 5 in any championship is good, but this one probably quite sweet for him, being an Italian driver in an Italian league. And then Gagliardini coming across the line in 6th, and all your other drivers didn't finish on the lead lap. So Carturan was the first driver to finish not on the lead lap. He was 7th. Liccioli comes home in 8th after his couple of issues. Bilancini in P9, and unfortunately for Onorati, coming home only in P10 because of issues with the drive-through penalty and a bit of damage from a mistake as well. Vladi Colombo in the Ferrari in 11th, and the other Colombo in the Porsche in 12th. And I think we have actually had a few people leave the session, so that a couple of those positions might not be quite right. But what about this man, Luca Lozio? He's well, I say man, he's a young lad.
Yeah.
He is not a man yet, but I'm sure he'll be very, very happy with himself. I'm sure Dad Lozio as well will be.
Yep.
Although he wasn't racing tonight, I'm sure he'll be happy with the performance he's put in tonight.
There will be some celebrity at Lozio home tonight. That's for sure.
Is it not quite late where you are? Is it not nearly midnight, or is it midnight now?
It's midnight.
It's midnight. No, it's never a bad time to get the limoncello out.
Yeah. Absolutely, and maybe also some spaghetti, just to celebrate.
Yeah, night time's just
Brilliant.
amazing. By the way, I was making some calculations about the championship, and regarding first and second place, Matteo just said it. Lozio wins the championship by just 1 point over Capoccia,
Amazing.
and that's amazing. But Carturan keeps his third place. Keeps his third place in the championship because Montalbano is absent today, so he gets 0 points. And
Oh, of course,
Jamfrest came 5th, but the difference between 5th and 7th is just 2 points. So Carturan keeps his third place. So congratulations to him too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if Carturan's managed to claim P3, then in the championship overall, that's a great drive from him, because he's had his fair share of up and downs through the championship, I think, as well. He's had a few rounds where he's not quite been on it, and then other times where he has been really, really fast and right up there. So, yeah, he'll be very happy to take home P3 in the championship.
Roberto.
Yep.
Puoi recuperare i ragazzi che facciamo delle interviste in italiano?
Faccio io.
Okay.
We are doing some interview in Italian, Aiden, so you can stay with us.
I'll stick
Few
around.
minutes. If you have questions for the guys, and then we do
A little translation.
Yeah, we can do it translation. I am fine with that. Because obviously I won't even know what you guys are asking them, so I don't want to ask the same question again. I'll try and pick it up.
Scuderia Ferrari Edition, the heart of the race.
Ok, siamo tornati per un giro di interviste in italiano. Qui con noi in commento ci sono Luca Tozzato, terzo in gara oggi, Andrea Capoccia, secondo, Luca Losio, primo e vincitore del campionato. Ci sono ancora Roberto, l'intervista appunto le faremo in italiano, e Roberto con qualche domanda in inglese anche da parte di Aiden. A te Roberto, vai, parti pure tu con chi vuoi.
Ma io vorrei partiamo tra virgolette "dal basso", perché alla fine non c'è stato uno più basso, ma, in classifica. Partiamo da Tozzato, grande gara per lui, ha avuto qualche difficoltà a metà gara, ma poi si è ripreso molto bene, gran terzo posto. Faccio una domanda a te e anche un po' in generale al team, a come avete gestito un po' la strategia. Vi siete un po' spaventati della pioggia?
Ma era una gara molto imprevedibile. Sapevo che qualcosa sarebbe successo, quindi come ho visto annuvolarsi ho detto preparatevi che arriva la pioggia.